You don't remember the diagnosis? You were too small, too new, too unaware. But the adults around you did. Doctors charted your growth with solemn expressions, nurses murmured in clipped voices, and your parents smiled in ways that didn't reach their eyes. From the beginning, the word different lived in the same crib you did. It didn't scream at first, it whispered, a shadow that would grow louder with every year. As a baby, you just existed. You cried, laughed, reached for toys, and napped in warm blankets. You didn't know that the measurements written on those charts already set you apart. You didn't feel the comparisons people made, how small your hands looked, how light your weight was, how your milestones were recorded with hesitant pride. But the truth is, the world had already marked you. You weren't like the others. Childhood has a way of revealing reality in fragments. At first, it's playful. You crawl, you walk, you run, and you believe you're part of the same game as everyone else. But the world is not neutral. It is built for the average. You notice it in door handles placed out of reach, in kitchen counters that might as well be skyscrapers, in chairs that swallow you whole so your legs dangle like decorations instead of planting firmly on the ground. Every piece of furniture, every space, every simple daily object reminds you that you are out of proportion with the design of life itself. You learn humiliation in small doses. The first time you can't reach the monkey bars, your classmates swing across while you hang back, pretending you don't care. At recess, other kids run up ladders and slides that demand a stretch your body can't deliver. You laugh with them sometimes because it's easier to join than to resist, but deep down you feel the sting. You're not part of the group. You're on the outside looking in. Teachers try to bridge the gap, bending down when they speak to you, adjusting their tone to something softer, like you're permanently younger than you are. They don't mean harm, but pity leaves its own scar. You don't want softness. You want normalcy. But even authority figures confirm what you're already learning, that you will never just blend in. The playground becomes your first battlefield. Kids are unfiltered. They say what they see. Why are you so small? Why do you look like that? Sometimes they laugh. Sometimes they just stare. You try to shrug it off, but every word digs in. You can't change the truth in their eyes. And pity from adults doesn't erase the fact that you're the subject of their whispers. Yet in the cracks, there are moments of light. A friend who doesn't treat you differently. A game of tag where you're fast enough to matter. A birthday party where laughter is real and not laced with curiosity. Those memories matter, but they don't erase the undertone. Childhood joy is always tangled with awareness. You are different, and the world never lets you forget. And still, you dream. Because children always dream. You watch athletes on television. Their bodies powerful, their presence undeniable. You see actors on screen, singers on stage, idols who seem larger than life. You tell yourself, why not me? The dream feels pure, untouched by reality's limits. You imagine a future where people cheer your name for something you've earned, not for something you can't control. That flicker of hope becomes a shield, a way to survive the whispers and stares. But innocence never lasts. Each year piles on new reminders. Each birthday brings comparison to peers who grow taller, faster, stronger, while your growth slows, stalls, stops. The difference between you and the rest doesn't close. It widens. And somewhere inside, you feel the first hints of exhaustion, though you don't yet have words for it. Childhood teaches you the first hard lesson: joy exists, but it's always shadowed by struggle. You can laugh, you can dream, you can find victories, but the awareness never leaves. You are living in a world that was never built with you in mind, and the rest of your life will be spent proving that you still belong in it. Adolescence sharpens what childhood only hinted at. You thought the playground was tough, but high school hallways are arenas, and everyone is measuring themselves against everyone else. Who's taller, who's faster, who's stronger, and you? You never even enter the competition. Your body is the first thing people see, the first thing they joke about, the first thing they dismiss. You don't get to choose anonymity. The nicknames arrive before you've even settled into your seat. Some are meant to sting, others are tossed out as if they're harmless fun, but repetition cuts deep. A joke might fade once, twice, not when you hear it every single day. You learn to laugh along because pushing back only makes the spotlight brighter. On the outside, you're a good sport. On the inside, every chuckle costs you something. Stares become your background noise. At the mall, in classrooms, in crowded buses, you feel them like heat crawling over your skin. It's not just curiosity, it's the way people shrink or stiffen like they don't know how to act around you. You catch the double takes, the whispers behind hands, the smirk shared between two strangers. You walk through the world as if through glass, visible and untouchable, a spectacle even when you're doing nothing but existing. Then there are the physical trials, the ones no one sees as struggles because they're invisible until they stop you cold. Stairs that your friends run up in seconds leave you panting. Door handles demand stretches that pull your shoulders out of place. Heavy doors drag you forward like you don't belong in the building at all. Shelves, desks, mirrors, everything around you serves as a constant reminder that you live in a body out of sync with the environment. You adapt, you improvise, you endure. But every adaptation drains you. Every workaround is a reminder of the gap. Dating? That's another battlefield entirely. Attraction is ruthless, and honesty doesn't spare you. Some people fetishize, some ridicule, many dismiss. You're always second-guessed, always seen as an exception instead of a possibility. Friends say it doesn't matter, that the right one will come along, but the silence of rejection tells a louder story. You wonder if you'll ever be wanted without conditions, if anyone will look past the obvious and see the person buried beneath the size. And the jobs. You discover quickly that resumes don't show height, but interviews do. You watch potential employers hesitate, recalibrate, and quietly conclude you can't handle what others can. You feel it in the air before they even speak. When you do get hired, you're underestimated from day one. Colleagues treat you with caution, or worse, with condescension. You work twice as hard just to prove you can stand shoulder to shoulder with people who don't even notice the effort it takes for you to keep up. And still, credit comes slower, promotions come harder, and respect arrives last. People tell you to stay positive, to rise above, to own who you are. But rising above isn't a motivational slogan. It's an everyday grind. It's swallowing insults without showing pain. It's forcing yourself to climb literal and metaphorical stairs you were never built for. It's the quiet burn of isolation, masked by jokes you laugh at just to make others comfortable. The weight of adolescence is not just the books in your backpack, the pressure of grades, or the question of your future. It's the constant drag of being stared at, judged, underestimated, and laughed at before you've even had a chance to prove yourself. Every step, every glance, every whisper reinforces the same truth. The world wasn't made for you, but it still demands you keep up. And somehow you do, because you don't have another option. Survival isn't about choice, it's about endurance. Adolescence doesn't just shape you, it hardens you whether you wanted it to or not. Adulthood doesn't deliver freedom, it delivers bills, it delivers expectations, it delivers the relentless pressure of independence. And none of it pauses to consider that you've already been carrying more weight than most. You thought school was the gauntlet. But stepping into the adult world is stepping into a new battlefield. One where survival isn't about jokes in hallways, but about proving yourself to systems that never designed a place for you. Accessibility is a word you hear often, but rarely feel. Laws exist, sure. Politicians smile and call it progress. But when you walk into offices with desks that tower above your chest, when you strain for counters that mock your reach, when bathroom sinks reflect nothing but your forehead, you realize accessible is just a word on paper. The world is still built tall, and you are still forced to find workarounds. You push anyway. You have to. Independence is a currency, and you don't want to live on pity. You take jobs that demand twice the effort. You climb literal ladders and metaphorical ones, gripping each rung tighter than the last, because slipping feels like confirming what everyone suspects, that you can't handle it. You refuse to let them be right. Every shift, every meeting, every grind becomes another silent declaration. You belong here, even if the building itself disagrees. But the cost shows up in your body. Your knees ache like they've aged decades ahead of schedule. Your shoulders throb from years of reaching, stretching, lifting. Surgeries become markers of time, a timeline of what you've endured to stay functional. Recovery never feels full. Pain never leaves completely. It just changes shape, from stabbing to dull, from sharp to constant. Nights end with ice packs, mornings begin with stiffness, and every day in between is just another negotiation between endurance and exhaustion. Yet you carry pride like armor. You don't want pity glances. You don't want to be seen as fragile. You want recognition, not for being different, but for pushing harder than anyone realizes just to stand in the same room. You tell yourself that if the world wasn't built for you, then every victory you carve out means more. Every paycheck, every rent payment, every bill covered is proof that you're not broken. You're relentless. Still, in the quiet moments when the noise fades and no one's watching, doubt creeps in. You stare into the bathroom mirror, rubbing sore joints, wondering if tomorrow will hurt worse than today. You wonder if anyone will ever truly understand the labor that hides behind your calm face. If anyone sees how much of your life has been spent proving something that should never have been in question. Relationships don't erase the weight either. Love is complicated. Some see past your size, others don't. Some pretend it doesn't matter, but you always know it does. You long for a connection where you don't feel like you have to overcompensate, where you don't feel like you're being measured against an invisible standard you'll never meet. Even in intimacy, you feel the need to prove that you're enough, that you're capable, that you belong in the space you've fought to claim. And so you grind, day after day. Work harder, endure longer, mask pain better. Adulthood is not the freedom you imagine, but it is the stage where your resilience becomes your identity. You don't get to simply be. You are always proving, always pushing, always learning to stand taller than you are. Because if you don't, the world will gladly decide for you where you belong. Time doesn't pass quietly, it stacks. And for you, the stack is heavier than most can imagine. Every adaptation you made in youth, every workaround you forced into place, every strain you ignored, it all comes back with interest. You thought pain was just background noise, something you could manage, but with age, the noise grows louder until it drowns out everything else. Your knees are the first to betray you. Decades of climbing stairs designed against you leave them swollen, stiff, screaming with every rise and every descent. Then your back joins in, strained from reaching, bending, overextending to live in a world built for taller bodies. Shoulders ache from years of pulling doors that fought against you, from carrying loads that bent your frame in ways it wasn't meant to bend. Pain doesn't rotate anymore, it layers, piling one problem over another until you forget what it felt like to wake up without a groan. Friends your age talk about slowing down gracefully. They complain about midlife weight gain, about gym memberships they don't use, about creaky joints that flare up after a weekend run. You listen and nod, but inside you know your reality is harsher. Their complaints are minor inconveniences. Yours are daily battles. Their bodies are just beginning to resist. Yours has been resisting since birth, and now it's collapsing under the accumulated strain. Every task becomes a negotiation. Walking a block is no longer casual. It's a calculation. How much energy will this cost? Carrying groceries requires strategy, multiple trips, careful pacing, painkillers waiting on the counter. Travel, once a dream, now feels impossible. Airplane seats are cages, hotel bathrooms a minefield of inaccessibility. You weigh every opportunity against the price your body will pay, and more often than not, the answer is no. Isolation creeps in silently. You don't stop seeing friends because you want to. You stop because the logistics are brutal. Because stairs at their house feel like mountains. Because crowds in public spaces press against your fragile joints. Because pain has made you cautious, and caution has made you alone. They say they understand, but they don't. They can't. They've never lived inside a body that has to fight the very environment just to exist. And then comes the humiliation. Not the loud laughter of childhood, but the quiet shame of needing help with things you once managed yourself. Asking someone to reach the shelf, to carry the heavy bag, to slow their pace so you can catch up. Each request feels like a small defeat. A reminder that independence is slipping through your fingers. Pride, once your armor, now weighs you down. You don't want to need anyone, but the body doesn't ask permission. It simply gives out. A cruel truth settles in, your body pays double. Every victory of your youth was bought on credit, and the bill has arrived. You endured stairs, shelves, heavy doors, long hours, endless proof that you could keep up. And for a while you did. But nothing comes free. The strain that made you strong has also worn you down, and the cracks can no longer be hidden. And still, you endure. Because that's all you've ever done. You stretch, you medicate, you ice, you breathe through the pain. You keep going even when every part of you screams to stop. There is no surrender, only slower movements, smaller circles, quieter victories. The world never adjusts. It never lowers the shelves, never shrinks the stairs, never redesigns itself for your relief. You adjust. You always adjust. But the adjustments cost more now, and the return is less. Every day is another reminder. This body, this life, has been carrying weight no one else could see. And with age, the weight has become almost unbearable. At some point, the fight turns inward. You've spent a lifetime adapting, proving, enduring. You've battled against stairs, against systems that never considered you. But eventually, the question rises louder than the noise of pain or laughter. Who are you really beyond the struggle? You've built pride out of necessity. Pride in surviving what others couldn't imagine. Pride in showing up day after day, working harder, carrying pain without complaint. But pride can't erase exhaustion. It can't soften the truth that so much of your identity has been forged in resistance. You wonder how much of you was ever truly free, and how much was molded by a world that made you fight just to exist inside it. The dream was always simple: to blend in, to live ordinary, to not be pointed at, pitied, or whispered about. But your life has been extraordinary in ways you never asked for. Every achievement was doubled in difficulty. Every setback cut deeper. Every small independence, paying bills, cooking a meal, showing up to work, was a victory hidden behind closed doors. Love and belonging carry the same contradictions. You've longed to be seen fully, without conditions. And sometimes you've felt it. Those rare connections where your size fades into the background, where laughter and intimacy make you forget the weight of your body. But even in love, you've carried the fear. Are they seeing you, or are they adjusting for you? The insecurity lingers, not because you doubt your worth, but because the world trained you to question it at every turn. The stares never stop, the whispers never vanish. You learn to filter them out, to live as if you're invisible while being hyper-visible at the same time. In public spaces, you move with practiced resilience, pretending you don't notice the eyes, the laughter disguised as coughs, the phones that tilt for secret pictures. You tell yourself it doesn't matter, but some nights the memories replay, and you feel the sting as fresh as when you were a kid on the playground surrounded by questions you could never answer. And then there's the silence, the quiet hours when pain hums in your joints and the room is empty. That's when the truth hits hardest. You've spent your whole life proving you can keep up. But when proving is all you've ever done, what's left when the proving ends? Who are you when you're not grinding, not adapting, not fighting the uphill climb? The question hangs heavier than any insult, heavier than any door or stair or shelf. Still, you endure. You remind yourself of what you've built despite it all. A life, a path, a presence. You may not have the fame or glory of idols on TV, but you've carved space in a world that wasn't meant for you. That in itself is an act of rebellion. Every day you've lived, every task you've conquered, every scar you've carried is proof of your refusal to vanish. But the truth remains sharp, undeniable. The world hasn't changed much. It still towers above you. It still forces you to adapt, to pay with pain, to fight battles no one else sees. You've made peace with some of it, but peace isn't freedom. Peace is simply surviving with dignity, even when the weight feels unbearable. And when you look back at the childhood humiliations, the teenage stares, the adult grind, the aging body, the story is consistent. The victories were real. The pride was earned. But so was the suffering. So was the exhaustion. So was the endless negotiation between who you are and what the world demanded you be. It's not comedy. It's not spectacle. It's not inspiration. It's life. Hard, raw, unrelenting life. And when you strip it down to its core, when you lay every scar, every ache, every adaptation bare, the truth lands heavy, final, undeniable. That's why it sucks to be a midget.